Transparency by our friend the Yazi. So you believe your dead brother is haunting you? I asked, brushing the tip of my pen against my notepad as if I cared enough to write. It's not that I didn't care for her issues, more so that caring for her proved an issue. Her reluctant respect bothered me the most. Yes, I can't explain how I know it's him. Well, I can, but not all of it. Samantha's lips spat as if that gave me much information. I suppose that was another thing that bothered me. The fact that every sentence she spoke was more of a thought she was yet to finish before speaking, ending in sentences that contradicted the last. Like? I closed the notepad and I took off my left glove and reached into my pocket. I was not going to reveal how little I had written, as that would shatter her ego in an instant where she had spent a lifetime making it. Perhaps if I was still young enough to be dumb enough, I would have found her quite attractive. Seems like she was once a very good-looking woman that let stress and lively procrastination drag her down to a mere average. I pulled out a cigarette from the carton in my pocket. May I asked with the most forceful manners I could arm myself with, lighting it before her stumbled yes could even completely leave her lips. Clients like this annoy me the most, and a smoke often proved to help me get through each one. I took a long drag for that first poem. Well, he used to hang his coat on doors, which annoyed me, and I let him know that a lot. And after the funeral, his coat was on the living room door, but I could have sworn that I put it on the coat rack after I got out of my car. Is that all? I said with a harsh rasp. I suppose I should either smoke more often or just quit while I'm not addicted. No, there's also been a lot of things moving. Well, my things that he bought me. A coffee mug that I'd not used in months would be out of the cupboard by the sink, or waking up to the light bulbs in the living room being shattered, but only the ones he replaced for me. There was also a kitchen knife that he had bought me that went missing the other day. Things like that. She seemed nervous, shaky hands that wouldn't stop fidgeting with her skirt, constantly brushing her hair despite it never moving. Things like that. Not sad, though. None of her body language seemed sad, just nervous. Pure, undeniable fear. Did he have anything against you? Any reason to want to make you scared? Or do you think he's trying to communicate? Samantha's entire body seemed to be frozen in time for just a second when I asked that first question, as if either 1,000 thoughts went through her mind or just one. No. I guess it's just communicating. There was no delay in her saying that, not even a slow speech, like every sentence from her beforehand. He knows why? I remarked, putting out the cigarette in the coffee mug that I had mostly finished. Yes, but I don't know why he... You do, I interrupted. I had enough fun with this charade I'd been displaying, and it was time to remove hers. You know exactly why. I don't know what you mean. The fear and stutter had kicked in again, giving me too much of a grin compared to what I like to display of my emotion. Would you not be a bit pissed off if someone you considered close to you caused you to die in such a way that everyone assumed it was suicide? Then to remain between worlds watching your family question what they could have done to stop you from killing yourself, to support you when you needed it. But he didn't need it, did he? He wasn't depressed. He had never even considered suicide. She was silent for once. Craig, Samantha's brother, watched in anticipation. His smile likely would have gone from one earlobe to the other if his body would allow. He wanted this. He could not exact revenge in his position, which is where I came in. Just a man who was unlucky enough to be born with the great gift of seeing and hearing ghosts. She sensed his presence. I can't explain all of it, but she shifted in body language I had not yet seen once he took a seat next to me. I was so careful, she muttered between tears, shaking now more than ever, her lungs tighter than a swine's screech at a slaughterhouse. Aye, you were as careful as you could have been in hiding all the evidence of you killing him. You wiped clean the blade you sliced open his wrist with, leaving only his blood, and then plastering it with his fingerprints. You dented a skull-shaped hole in the wall next to the bathtub so the investigation team would assume he hit his head on the wall after slicing his wrists, and then fell unconscious. And not that it was a simple, blunt blow to the head carried out by you that caused him to slip unconscious before dying. However, the dead still talk, just not to most. What amazes me is that you were willing to kill your own brother and put your family through the effects of an assumed suicide just so he couldn't tell your fiancé that you were sleeping with other men. All I want to know is one thing. Was it worth it? Even when your fiancé broke up with you 2 weeks later because he was never in love with you in the first place. My words left her silent and frozen. Craig was still smiling. Very well. On with the end. Oh, one last thing. Craig wants you to know that dying really, really hurts, and that even when you're dead, you feel the pain for an eternity after. Can you imagine feeling your wrist slicing open for an eternity? I mean, that's gotta be shit. Mind you, there are certainly more painful ways to go. And in a swift, unobvious swing of my arm, her throat was slit. Blood sprayed out of her neck like confetti at a wedding, all over herself and the table in front of her. Once the show of blood had ceased, I delicately forced her fingers onto the handle of her kitchen knife, and then dropped it on the floor next to her legs. I sat back, waiting to see her ghost, expecting some form of hatred for me to keep her in this world. Nothing. Nothing held her back. She continued to her last destination. Now for my end of the deal, Craig said, still smiling. He led me to her kitchen and looked at the table. Where's the money? I put my left glove on again. Move the table. Lift up the carpet. It's loose there. There's a briefcase with just under 30,000 pounds hidden there. No one knows of the briefcase, and no one will ever come looking for it. Very well. I moved the table and lifted the carpet, and sure enough, a sleek, gray briefcase awaited. I was not sure if it was 30,000, but from the brief glance I had, it was at least a very good pay for a job this easy. Thank you. And with that final remark, he faded away, finally at peace and on to his last destination. I was just glad I got some money and could finally stop sneaking into this woman's house to move and break random objects. That was Transparency by the Yazi.